is it that you'd like to share with us today from the subconscious and greater collective?
We envelop you all in light this day, moving in a direction which will orient you into a place of beginning. We don't infer that you have not begun your journey. You have indeed travelled in many different dimensions. But what you have begun is to introduce into a level of understanding of your own consciousness expansion and introducing information in patterns in a sequence involving many other groups you are not entirely aware of, and yet through the functions available that you both have set up, the information can be distributed in that way through the circles, through the contacts. The energy systems in place include communication systems, communicating from individuals or groups to other individuals and groups. But there is also information contained deeply within the energy information systems of each individual. So we are speaking about an individual not as a physical unit with a personality and structure. We are speaking about an individual as a source and vehicle of energy itself. So to bring energy through into dimensions such as your planet Earth, there was needed to be an information way to bring that in. And the energy systems of the human being form and its consciousness levels, its energy framework, energy being conveying systems, conveying energy messages. So as that was developed and has come into conscious recognition of people currently, this is the information vehicle that is used to bring energy into the earth space. So each individual, as they become attuned to receiving patterns and codes of energy, is bringing in specific information to be used and utilised. Individually, that is used and utilised to create methods and areas of civilization. And those areas can be connected in throughout the entire planet as you know it. And it is a way of uplifting other energy systems or other people. So in this context, we are speaking about energy systems as being people, individual people. So you may perceive an individual body system as a collection of energy, of signals going through energy pathways in the body, and some of those will be to do with maintaining a healthy system for the body, and some of those will be introducing into conscious thought patterns, creations to manifest. So there is an ongoing passage of information, and this is referred to as a pathway and a method just begun. And it has just begun simply because of the awareness of the way that energy is introduced into planetary systems and into the human organism and creation. So this will become clear as you continue to work with the energy impulses, and as you become aware of the specific codes of energy introduced to the overall planet, in as much as it comes through energy emanating through the solar system, through the central sun. So that is important, it is significant, it is part of the integral system throughout Earth, but throughout the particular solar system that Earth is within at this time. The energy system is coming through all levels of creation. It is just that you are aware of a greater population on planet Earth, and it is the population who is bringing the energy in to facilitate change, exchange of information, and when necessary to balance and improve what has already been established around the planet and is in existence. Some of that we bring to your memory is from other civilizations which were apparently more evolved and were able to use conscious connections of creation in a different way. The whole energy system has changed to what it has been in different time frames and phases. So the current phase you are in is to bring about more conscious creation with a higher field of energy. And this is what you are aware of. This is what the endeavours are in the propulsion of people, giving them the impulse to improve various states and conditions of health, of inner health, of consciousness, purifying what is already there, adjusting energy frequencies. There are many types of energy frequencies surrounding individuals. Some of those are brought in through conscious intention of what they desire to implement and create. And of course, you are aware there are many layers to that and how it can be used or manipulated. For the purposes of this energy series coming through, we refer entirely to the pattern that is available for the upliftment and improvement and creation of entirely new cities, places to live in, based on holistic principles, based on the elimination of lower field influences, based entirely on higher field influences. So the higher field influences have an action of purifying itself within the organism the vessel of a human being, a human being present within the energy structure and influences. Now we are opening up a dimensional field as we bring this to you, and the dimensional field is drawing you further into the elements coming through the sun. And as this is being brought forth to you and as it is distributed to other individuals, they also will feel their immersion within this field of energy and the impact this has on the energetic field, framework field, energetic matrix around each one. It is a way of assisting because it is the intention of this collective consciousness field bringing this to you to assist the evolutionary process. So in drawing individuals into this expanded dimension, it is also an opportunity that is offered. The opportunity will not be accepted by everyone simply because it involves moving into an understanding that is different to the imposition into the human consciousness level. And so to many people the difference will bring them to a point of questioning whether this is what they want to proceed with at this time. So it is an opportunity offered. Now we are drawing you into and drawing this vessel into another state of consciousness, and this allows the flowing field of energy to encompass not just the physical form as you know it, but the higher energetic forms that contain layers of consciousness. Many in your framework today would determine it to be 4D modelling or 5D modelling, or talking about 7th level dimensions and such. So in this session we are just speaking about unfolding levels of dimension, and this is sufficient to alter brainwave patterns, and brainwave patterns incorporate level of understanding and function. They can also introduce the memory of elevated states of existence that individuals have had. So this is an overall explanation of what can be achieved. And the opening up and reconnection into higher states of existence where there was quite a different body form, a very light energy body form. This can also bring back into conscious memory in current time ways to use energy patterns. So even in bringing this information through to you in this way, there is a level of resistance, a level of layer that is still filtering information being brought through.
It can seem like a lot to take in for those that haven't thought on those realms before, on those levels. How would this best be communicated to people who are ready to receive this information?
Just in the way that you are doing. In recording, there is a frequency being radiated out, and people will sense that who are aware, who are ready. If they are not ready, they do not receive the energy. It is something that is it's not appropriate to be forced upon anybody. It is a conscious choice, and so it is an individual choice as to whether it will be received. And that depends on their energy systems related to consciousness layers or degrees of consciousness, and that has a certain limiting aspect to it, because the energy itself can alter energy systems of the mind, of the body, of the emotions. So it is necessary to be accepted gradually and integrated. But in bringing it to conscious awareness today, in your current time phase, it stays in the level of consciousness until such time as the individuals are prepared to integrate it, to accept it.
Well, that was going to be my next question, about how can we prepare ourselves to be at that level, to integrate it and accept it within our energy fields. How can we rise our energy levels high enough, if you like, to be able to accept it and understand it and own it?
Being aware that it exists creates an energetic space, and the conscious intention of linking with that highest possible level of understanding draws individuals to it. It is a simple process, simply allowing oneself with the intention and perhaps a desire to incorporate the higher field into themselves, creates a pathway, a linkage. The pattern is already there. It is simply the linkage or pathway needed to consciously connect with the pattern. And this is controlled largely by the levels that you know of the greater consciousness of each individual. So working with that, with one's own higher consciousness, brings into alignment that pathway and connection. So it's done with consciously connecting with one's own higher self state of consciousness.
So what is the simplest way, or this this way you say it's a simple process to actually connect with one's consciousness, the pathway to linking. Is it different for every individual, or is there one way in particular that we can do this?
Well, the subconscious or the higher conscious levels exists for everyone. It's the same state of, it's a dimensional field that is around everyone and everywhere. So it's just a conscious statement of, I now connect with the higher state of consciousness, which does it. Already in that higher dimensional state of consciousness is the pathway. So it's a simple statement of, I now connect to that state of consciousness.
I now connect with the higher state of consciousness.
Yes.
So that's the intention that we set.
Yes.
And then that's enabling us to connect to that higher state of consciousness.
Yes. The second part of it, of course, is to allow to receive. And this is where the human personality would come in to try to define, what am I going to receive? Will I see it in words? Will I see pictures? That will be different for each individual because of their own state of awareness and sensing. And it is a state that will unfold gradually. The gradual integration of the higher pattern is needed. It's also a process that is overseen by the dimensional beings who surround you all, who are there to help and uplift. And because it is a process that is known throughout creation, there are always evolved beings to assist the process.
And to ask them to assist us in this process, is it by saying that statement, or is there another statement we can say? Not that I now connect with the higher state of consciousness, but if we really want their help and feel we need their help and support to allow ourselves to receive, how is it best for us to go about that? Us that want to be there and want to awaken to it, want the knowledge and to receive this information, but are just not sure how. Is there simple help or advice on how to receive that?
It needs the openness in the pathways in consciousness, and it is a method of connection. Now, people use the term meditation. People use the word attunement, and every word that is used in language has an understanding with it, behind it, that's been defined. So everything that is expansive, that will allow the senses to expand beyond the known limitations, will allow the connection. So it's a way of, we call it attunement or alignment, and that allows the energy to flow through. Not everyone will be comfortable with the knowledge of having a being from another dimension present. So it can be just spoken about as a state of consciousness. And it is through that people often receive images, sensing, sounds, words. So it's just simply connecting into the attunement, the energy spheres. So again here we can talk about energy spheres. And energy spheres are known as levels of consciousness or dimensional states of consciousness or simply dimensions. And a dimension has a whole layer of existences. And because beings came to Earth to inhabit Earth as the human beings, it was agreed or known that the conditions currently on Earth would define layers of awareness or consciousness. And then there was the effort to expand, because there was the very deep knowingness of higher dimensions and a very deep remembering of knowing that there was a higher evolutionary state that had been existed as. So this whole process is involved in restoring consciousness to an evolutionary state that is sometimes referred to as returning home, going back to source energy. But on the way, of course, upliftment occurs and help occurs for everyone. So there are definite spheres and dimensions integrated in all of this. Even planet Earth is in a particular sphere of dimension, and that involves many states of understanding and many different realities, all existing at the same time as you are existing in your present reality. And this is the one, of course, that you focus on to improve, to clear away resistances and disturbances of the energetic systems that is a human being. And so you become a light being, a being of energy and light, and that is information, all in one composition and presence. And when we speak about the Earth as being a particular dimension, as that expands and incorporates other dimensions, then there are other opportunities offered to the beings present on Earth to exist in different dimensions. This is a different aspect, not primarily part of this issuance at this time. For now, what has been given is enough to accelerate states of consciousness, to present the pathway to people to pursue their own expansion and return to a more enlightened state. And as that happens, of course, there will be noticeable improvements within the human physical unit, and of course that is also thoughts and emotions, and that is seen, of course, the thoughts and emotions impact upon the human form. So as well as bringing energy and information in this way, there is the energy and information to correct certain pathways within the human energy element. And in correcting that, there's the expansion and improvement and increase in vitality, energy, perception, many of those senses that are part of the normal blueprint for the body.
So as the blueprint of the body improves and the energy improves, then in turn it will help planet Earth as well survive?
Yes, you will see that happening. Your question already contains the knowledge and the answer because you know it. Yes, indeed. It is a seed. It's almost as if there is a seed within each intelligent being, creature, not just a human, but in creatures as well, that is partly connected with the Earth's energy composition and connected with what comes through the solar sun energy and the messages coming through. It's almost like one element, one seed contains the entire process. So as people become aware of that, it changes what's happening around the planet.
You mentioned earlier about new cities being formed and built. Is this actually within our Earth, within our reality and our time now?
There is the concept of the physical construction, but at this time there appears to be not sufficiently expanded consciousness of people with sufficient expanded consciousness to work with them successfully. But there is the existence of them in a higher evolved level, and those ones who are aware of those are already existing in them, and helping to bring them into physical sight, physical reality. It's known within many of the beings who are aware of this and want to live in such an established civilization to manifest it. So it could be seen as people being drawn in to create that.
Would that not create segregation around the planet Earth?
Well, in a sense, this is correct. It does. It's not a judgment sense, but it is a resonance, what you resonate with. And people resonate with different ideas and concepts and states of living. And of course it will be that way simply because the different states of evolution, it may you may not ever see it unified as one state of consciousness on planet Earth. The intention is that it is.
Okay. So the intention is that all beings on planet Earth are in this state of consciousness and oneness to be all together. Is that correct?
Yes, to have a very balanced, radiant planet to exist in.
Yeah. Yet it's everyone's free will and what they decide to take on.
It is indeed. Some people have the strong belief that they come to Earth to suffer, to experience, to pay back, to reclaim, and that keeps them very busily engaged in an ongoing process of being confined to certain levels. And those ones who realise that the pathway exists into the higher states of consciousness, well, that again you see is the difference in states of consciousness.
So, am I correct in saying if when people realise they're not here to suffer and they're here to learn, then they can simply evolve past that and clear whatever they need to clear to move on to that higher state of consciousness?
Correct. Yes, correct. And the energy coming through is, it exists around everybody, but they are not yet ready to perceive it. They have their blinds down so they don't see it.
And what's causing that? What's causing those blinds to be down for them not to open up and see it?
Some of it is conditioning, some of it is their own belief. Some of it is what they listen to from other people.
Would they have been choices that they had made before they came to Earth and on this lifetime?
Yes, many of those were choices. Many of those were made, such as vows and commitments.
But these vows can be cleared within this lifetime, right?
Yes, they can be cleared. There are opportunities given and ways given, and you are aware of some of those ways to clear those vows. There are many ways to do it.
It's just got to be the choice of that individual.
Yes. And then when those are cleared, for many people, they suddenly see that they can step out of the reality that they've been in. And then their energy field changes. And they can resonate, they can feel the resonance from the pull from the higher states of consciousness. We see it as a very beautiful expansion and opportunities offered to the beings on Earth.
So that leads me to this question here that Lani had about the connection between the golden ratio and healing or clearing. Are you able to expand on that? Is there a connection between golden ratio and healing?
It's an integral, fundamental basis of energy construction. It's an influence pattern, and it is a code of energy that contains minute energy filaments, and each filament contains aspects that are necessary for whatever it can be constructed in. And it is a perfect pattern of creation, arising from, well, you are well familiar with galaxies and the patterns of galaxies and the rotational field within creations, even as Earth itself rotates. So there is a pattern involved in everything, and it is indeed a holistic pattern, and in that way it can be referred to as healing. It can be changed and damaged, but if the surrounding energy field is open to the organised codes and frequencies of creation, then it is holistic again. It can be restored and changed back to the original ratio.
Is that golden ratio something that we need to be looking further into to help with healing?
It is enough to be aware that it exists as the perfect matrix or blueprint.
Is there a very simple way that you're able to explain that for those that don't know about it now on a very simple human level?
Well, there is the perfect blueprint, and people know what a plan is, or a diagram, or it's a whole concept.
So it's the perfect blueprint of Earth in creation.
Oh, for Earth, for everything that has been created, but on a much wider scale than just Earth. It exists throughout all of creation, and it exists also as an energy field behind anything and everything that can be defined as a construction or something to be created. There is a basis of energy information throughout source creation, and that is what is and has been identified as this pattern that's called the golden ratio that links one dimension to another. Now, it has been defined and recognised in science as measured and identified within cells and places. It can also be, and is also, part of dimensions, as in terms of greater dimensions of consciousness. So that is difficult to bring forward as a simple wording. So that's behind the whole terminology of the perfect blueprint.
Right. And this golden ratio, is this what you use then for healing when we go into doing healing work and quantum healing?
Yes, it can be. We refine it. We call upon energy frequency as such. Now, if that energy frequency, energy field, could be examined, it would be seen as filaments or codes, and in turn that could be measured, and the measurements would come back to the golden ratio. So it is an energy infusion of energy of light.
Right.
Yes.
So when you're saying you're healing through light, when we ask how you're doing the healing through the sessions that we do, that's really what it is.
Yes, we are bringing through this perfect pattern. Yes.
Yeah, to return things back to their perfect state.
Yes, that's the underlying energy field. And of course, if it's necessary to change or remove, then that's a different aspect to it, where we remove things that might have created blockages, for example.
Right.
Yes.
Okay, wonderful. So another question we have is the scalar energy in the healing machines the right energy for everyone?
Yes, because that's part of what is known as the golden ratio again.
Okay.
It's the same pattern, and it is perceived by those who have extended their consciousness field to sense it.
Okay.
You at times may sense the change in energy, and it is perceived in the human element as an expansion defined as all-encompassing joy.
Okay, beautiful. Thank you.
And it can be incorporated into certain devices, you would say, but the devices have come about as a method of attracting the energy and of identifying the energy and of being able to put that out in such a way that it can be brought to the attention of the energy field around people, plants, objects, everything. It's a way of reflecting what is out in existence everywhere. It's a way of identifying it and resonating with it. So there has been a way to receive the energy and then use it in what is being used to receive it, and then to radiate it out.
Okay.
Now people, individuals, can do this themselves. Once they realise that the energy that they are bringing through them is that which already exists, but in some measure has been deficient in the human body or in some other way. And so opening up the awareness of that allows it to be received, to be transferred to where it is needed.
Wonderful, thank you. Your answer, it's like you're reading my mind with all the questions that I have as you're talking, you're answering them. So thank you for that. Yes, I've been thinking about how do we bring that energy, transferring that into, like if we walk into a room or another place where we'd really like to help transfer that energy into the room or clear energy back to a state where we're able to work within.
Yes, that is how it is done.
That's how it's done, by bringing that intention and being aware of it.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So now there's the pulse electromagnetic field energy. Does this energy make some conditions worse, such as cancer or anything? The pulse electromagnetic field. Can that energy make conditions worsen? Illnesses?
It would depend on the frequency that is being projected or used or identified.
Okay.
There is an electromagnetic pulse existing everywhere, within the earth, within the atmosphere, harnessed within devices. But it is also such that it can be created as a specific frequency.
And this can help heal the cells?
Yes, it can. It is, and yes, it is presently being used to facilitate healing.
Mm-hmm.
It does not create harm, but it is just that the higher energy fields that we have been discussing are more appropriate for healing the body.
And can that be used through machinery? Would that energy field?
Yes.
Yeah, that can be passed on through machinery?
Yes.
Okay. Are you able to expand on that as to how that can be done?
We are speaking about different things here. We are speaking about what we were talking about, the golden ratio healing energy. That surrounds everything. People have identified the pulse electromagnetic field because it was able to be measured by instruments. And then it was discerned that this could be very useful for the body, and the body does respond to it, and has already been incorporated and used in devices. And then it was realised that there was another level involved also in the creation of that electromagnetic field, and that was the higher energy of intention and the realisation that there is something more being sensed and used that was better for the human body as it evolves.
And what was that?
So that is what is being defined as the scalar field energy.
Okay.
It's both ways being used successfully, but the better way is the higher frequency, which penetrates more deeply into the body systems and is accepted within the seed componentry, the seed element of the natural human energy systems. It's easily accepted into the cells and the tissue and into the energetic part of the DNA. And that's not just in the human body form, but in all creatures and plants. Yes, indeed.
Is there an actual determined frequency number or level that scalar energy is, or does it depend?
That also is inherent as part of the golden ratio.
So is there any kind of equation that you can give with that, or a number of frequency?
This is present. It's an ongoing pattern, a repeated pattern, and it's not being brought forth at this time as to the actual numbers.
Right. So a repeated pattern.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Wonderful. Is there anything else, any other information that we can bring forth today on all of these energy frequencies, and any final words or messages about them?
There is nothing more.
There's nothing more coming. Is there anything that you had wished that we had asked today that we didn't about this information? Anything that we could have asked that we're not aware of at this time? Information that can be passed on.
There is information, there is a presence to be made known of a great number of beings presently overseeing what is being introduced to the earth, what is being talked about, what is being brought forth even in this way, in this session. It is all being assisted and presented by a group of beings. So we are just simply overseeing the process. So in this way, what is being given is what is needed in the current situations unfolding around Earth. And it is prepared and brought forth in a sequence so that as each segment is absorbed and understood, a pattern will be seen. And the sequencing and the information being brought forth is another way of just assisting the expansion of people into the realization of their real energy presence, of their forms, not as body but as energy, an energy being. So part of the purpose of this is to awaken us to people. And those, of course, who are just beginning to want to expand and evolve and be better, then this is a simple way for them to get information. Yes. So this is what the intention is. And we are grateful for this opportunity to present it in this way to people.
Thank you. We're very grateful to hear the information.